As you will have seen in the previous lesson, a massive part of successful trading is really dependent on your mindset and psychology. Now, there are many esoteric and deep concepts that we'll get into much later in the program regarding trading psychology and actual practical tasks that we can undertake to try to resolve any blockages that you may be struggling with. But it is my firm belief that if you can really get a great understanding of what trading an edge is and really developing that probability-based mindset, then this will likely solve the majority of psychological issues that you may run into. So that's why we have an entire module based on this before we even start to hop on the charts and learn the technical side of the strategy. Because the most successful traders, they have developed a thorough understanding of the concept of what trading an edge is. And I really believe it's crucial to your long-term success to understand exactly how, when, and why you have an edge in the market. Why? Because it allows you to realistically align your expectations and keep an objective mindset through the inevitable highs and lows that you're going to experience on your journey. A beginner, they might find a system or strategy that's supposed to win 70% of the time, and yet they can become pretty disappointed after not winning 7 out of those 10 trades. And so often this will cause them to start looking for other strategies, or worse, starting to change their rules on the fly. So what this module is going to do is it's going to teach you the very basic mathematical principles of trading that you must understand in order to become successful. Now, the maths is very simple and you do not need to memorize any of it for your actual trading, but it is imperative for your trading development that you truly understand, but more importantly, accept the concepts in order for you to trade successfully long term. So, money and probability. Probability is the likelihood of a random event occurring. In order to fully understand probability models in trading, it is important that you know how to calculate the basic probability of a random event. So for this example, we will calculate the probability of flipping a head in a single coin toss. So the probability of an event occurring is equal to the number of ways that event can occur divided by the total number of possible outcomes. So for calculating the probability of flipping heads, the number of ways that this event can occur is 1, right? Because there's only one way that you can flip a head. You just have to flip a head. And then you divide this by the total number of possible outcomes, which is 2, because you can only flip a heads or a tails, right? So pretty simple. Now, the probability of flipping heads is just 1 divided by 2, which is 0.5, which is equal to a 50% chance. So the probability of any event occurring, it always has a value between 0, so 0%, and 1, which is 100%. So 0 represents an impossible outcome, can't happen, and 1 represents a certain outcome, it's guaranteed no matter what. Now, the probability of flipping a heads on a coin is as likely to happen as flipping a tails, so it has an even chance. Simple, right? Okay, let's move on. So let's make things a little bit more interesting and throw some money into the mix. So Sam and Sarah are going to play the coin toss game. Sam is heads and Sarah is tails. Now, every time Sam flips a heads and he wins, Sarah is going to pay him £1. And then every time Sam flips a tails and he loses, he's going to pay Sarah £1. So in this situation, how much money can Sam expect to make from flipping a coin? Well, hopefully for those who have guessed correctly, £0 is the correct answer, because they end up just cancelling each other out, right? Because they have the same probability of winning the same amount of money. So in this situation, it's pretty easy to work out the profit expectation, but when the random event becomes a little bit more complex, like in trading, then we need a formula to help us calculate our profit expectancy. So let's summarize what we already know about the coin toss. So there are 2 possible outcomes, right? Heads or tails, and the probability of either outcome is 50%. So if Sam flips a heads, in this case, he will make £1, but if he flips a tail and he loses, then he loses £1. So the profit expectation is the amount of profit times the probability of winning, plus the size of the loss times the probability of losing. So the profit Sam wins is £1 multiplied by the probability of winning, which is 0.5, plus the loss, which is minus £1, multiplied by the probability of losing, which is 0.5. So from a mathematical standpoint, Sam's expected profit in the situation is £0. He cannot make money in the long term. So let's skew the numbers a little bit now and see if you can make money from a coin toss. So this time, Sam negotiates with Sarah and they come to an agreement that if Sam flips heads, then Sarah still has to give him £1, just like before. However, if Sam flips tails and he loses, he only has to pay Sarah 90p. And that 10p difference can be an absolute game changer. So remember our profit expectancy formula? Previously, Sam won £1 for heads and lost £1 for tails, so his profit expectancy was £0. But now he has negotiated to pay Sarah 10p less when he loses and flips tails. This means that he now has a profit expectancy of 5p per flip. So the profit expectancy formula, this proves that Sam now has a profitable edge in his game of 5p for every single coin flip. So if he has a proven edge, he must be guaranteed to make money now, right? Well, not necessarily, because what Sam didn't discuss with Sarah is how many games they would play, and this is absolutely crucial. So let's say they begin the game with Sam flipping 3 tails in a row, right? It's a perfectly realistic scenario in a coin toss. Sam has now had 3 losses in a row, and he is now down minus £2.70 because he has to pay Sarah 90p for every tail that lands. However, he just can't handle the pain of losing anymore, so he decides to shake hands and hand over the winnings to Sarah, and he walks away. So here, Sam played a game with a proven mathematical edge in his favour, yet he still lost money. And this is what traders do all the time. They have a great strategy with a strong profit expectancy, but they quit, walk away, or they change their strategy before the edge has a chance to play out. You can get lucky and you can fool the numbers in the shorter term, but over time and distance, your true profit expectancy, it will always work through. We've all heard of those people who win big in the lottery or big at the casino tables, and they all have a negative profit expectancy playing these games, but like Sarah in the scenario above, they got lucky in the short term and they cashed out before their negative profit expectancy had a chance to work through. So in trading, never confuse luck with skill and probability. So how can you ensure that your proven profitable edge always works through and take advantage of the edge that Sam had managed to negotiate in his favour against Sarah? So how can you make sure that your proven profitable edge plays out? And it all comes down to understanding the law of large numbers. So the law of large numbers is basically a theorem that describes the results of performing the same experiment a large number of times. And according to the law, the average of the results obtained from a large number of trials, it should be close to the expected value, and then it will tend to become closer and closer as more trials are performed. So in much simpler words, if you have a proven mathematical edge and a proven profit expectancy, it's in your best interest to play it repeatedly as many times as you possibly can. So the only way that you can ensure that your edge plays out over time is to keep applying that edge over and over again. So what this diagram essentially shows is different people's profit curves that actually all have the same profit expectancy. So some might hit quite a few losers in a row at the start and are actually losing money initially, and others might hit quite a few winners in a row and be up straight away. But eventually, as you play more and more games or take more and more trades with that positive edge, eventually you will arrive at the expected value of that edge, the expected average profit per trade for your strategy. So as a trader, you're going to have to learn to emotionally deal with that uncertain volatility in the short term of your results, and then trust in the long-term stability as your edge starts to play through. So whether you experience a run of consecutive losing trades in a row or a run of winners in a row, you must know that soon you will experience the opposite until it balances out and you reach the average profit expectation for your strategy. So I've created this spreadsheet just so you guys can actually create your own coin toss experiment yourself. What the spreadsheet will essentially allow you to do is just really give you a good understanding to actually see, how your underlying profit expectancy of your strategy and of your edge actually starts to play out over time. So if you click on the link below in the notes of this video, it should hopefully open this up, and it should have already hopefully asked you to save a copy down to your own drive. But if for whatever reason that hasn't happened, then just click on File in the top left hand corner and then come down to Make a Copy. And then when you click that and save it down to your own drive, you'll then be able to actually edit and play around the spreadsheet and save it down. So yeah, it's yours for you to keep for life. Now, There's only really a couple of things that you need to enter into the spreadsheet. So the first one being how much you win if you flip a head. So let's just put in £1, and then how much you lose if you flip a tail. So play around with it with whatever amounts that you like. Just make sure that for the amount that you lose, you still put in a positive number, because if you put a negative number, the formulas basically just won't work. So yeah, if you're ever not sure about what each cell does, just hover your mouse over and then a little pop-up should come up, and it just gives you a little bit more information. So yeah, put in how much you win and then how much you would lose, and then the only sort of next area in which you need to input data is column B down here, this column here, which is essentially where you just put in whether you flipped heads or tails. So literally just grab a coin and then just put in each result as you get it there, and then what it will do is it will just automatically fill in the profit and loss and the running profit for you. So let's say we flip a few heads, a couple of tails, and what we need to do is not do what I'm doing right now, but actually take the time to put this in, and flip the coin. I'm just quickly populating this just to see how the graphs sort of look. So it's pretty easy to kind of be lazy here and not do this, but even if you just grab a coin and just do this maybe for 20-30 flips, the spreadsheet does go down all the way down to 500. Just because it's really good to kind of see honestly how long it sometimes can take for the true profit expectancy to actually play out. So that's what these two numbers are here. So one is the calculated profit expectancy, and then one is the true profit expectancy. So again, if you hover your mouse, it'll give you a bit more of a better explanation, but essentially the true profit expectancy is the expectancy that is based on the amount of coin flips you have done so far, the amount of information that you've actually given to the spreadsheet. So it's based on these results, and what that's telling you is actually your profit expectancy is quite a bit higher. You're performing quite well. So what that means is you've actually flipped more heads than tails, because what is the true edge? It's a 50-50, right? So really, in reality, there should be the same amount of heads as there should be as tails. So because you have a 10 pence profit gain essentially over whether you lose, that's why the calculated profit expectancy should be 5 cents, but at the moment the edge has just worked in your favor just through random distribution. You've had more heads than you would probably expect over a large number of trials, so that's why your profit expectancy is actually slightly higher at the moment, more than what the calculated profit expectancy you would expect if you were to do 500 or 1,000 flips. Really, you should only have a 5 cent edge, because for instance, if we were to put this to a pound, right, and it was even, then really over the long run, right, you should be on zero. It should net each other out. But as you can see, because we've had more heads here, at the moment you actually do have a profit expectancy. But the more that you would fill this out over time, right, this should even out, and your average profit for roll should come down to zero and flatline out. But if you actually grab a coin and you do this for real, what you'll see is sometimes you can even have like 10, 11, maybe even 12 heads or tails in a row. And you'll see that at the start, your average profit will be really volatile. It'll be all over the place, like, almost £1 a flip all the way down to you'll go negative, and it'll just be like this big sort of heartbeat, and then it'll get slowly, kind of getting smaller and smaller oscillations as the further it goes out with the more number of trials, until it literally just flat lines at the end of the curve around whatever the calculated profit expectancy is. So the main kind of learning point from this exercise is just to see that at the start, right, your profit expectancy could look really awful, or it could look brilliantly, and then over time, then right, it will adjust and it will come back to that balance of where the actual calculated profit expectancy should be. So, I really do encourage you, just grab a coin, even if you just do 10 or 20 flips, and I think you will be surprised at kind of how many heads or tails you can actually end up flipping in a row. And then you need to try and remember this experiment, I guess, when you're actually trading in the live markets, right? And you have a good edge, you've seen that you've tested it, and you've got a pretty good strike rate. And then suddenly you sit there and you take 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 losers in a row, right? And you start to doubt, question, hesitate, everything. Just grab a coin and do this, and you'll see, a 50% strike rate can be pretty good, especially if you have, that high risk to reward, which we're going to get into in a little bit later in this module. And you'll just really see that the true random nature of how these edges can play out. And you just have to remember that there'll be a lot of volatility at the start, but then you need to zoom out in your mind, think of the long term, and as you get further into those trials, what you'll see is this big volatility at the start will just flatline out to a very smooth line around where that profit expectancy is. So yeah, play around with the numbers, see how much you want to skew it. Obviously, the more that you increase your edge, whoops, needs to be a positive number, remember. Yeah, then you'll see the calculated profit expectancy will obviously be a lot higher the more that you put it in your favor, so on and so forth. So yeah, just play around with it, save it down. It's yours to keep for life. But yeah, I hope that's given you a bit of an insight into what an edge actually is. And now, over the course of the remaining lessons of this module, we're going to learn, how we can apply this to our actual trading, and then develop a strategy that actually has a proven mathematical edge and a high profit expectancy.